So you want to use the Steam controller trackpads for aiming. Well, you are on the right place. Here's everything you need to know. These are my settings and why I chose them. By default, in most games, you will see the right trackpad as a joystick. And if you ever tried using it like this, you will notice that it's often not very good. This happens because joysticks have a hard speed limit. They have dead zones and acceleration curves that need to be countered to make this thing work properly. And that's just too time consuming, it's not worth it at all. So 99% of the time, you want to use the right trackpad as a mouse. That said, some games do not vibe with gamepad and mouse inputs at the same time, which can cause some problems like the UI flickering, or even worse, your character not moving or the camera going all over the place. If that's the case, you need to rebind every button on the controller to keyboard and mouse keys. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's consider an ideal game like Returnal. Actually, I just realized that in this game I had to download a mod to disable a beeping sound that happens every time you switch inputs, which in this case would be all the time, so yeah, other than that, this is a great game to exemplify what I want to say. When using trackpads, I want to be able to do a 180 with a single swipe. And I want to move the camera relatively slowly by sliding my thumb across the trackpad. That can be achieved with the right sensitivity and trackball mode. Trackball mode is like a spinning globe. If you spin it really fast, it will keep spinning until it loses momentum or until you hold it again. Clicking on the gear icon next to the right trackpad behavior will send us to this screen. Right here we have the trackball mode. High trackball friction will make the camera stop sooner. Low trackball friction will make the camera stop later. I prefer to use medium. I chose my preferred trackball friction first because my preferred sensitivity will be influenced by the trackball friction. So now, to find my preferred sensitivity, I just hop into the game and I try to perform the action that I want. In this case, I want to do a 180 with a single swipe, so can I do it? No, I need to increase the sensitivity. Well, it was more than a 180, so maybe a little less. Okay, this seems to get pretty close, but do you see that when I swipe, I move the camera a bit downwards or upwards depending on the way that I swipe? We can mitigate that by decreasing the vertical sensitivity scale. So right here, I'm gonna set it to 75%, and on the vertical friction scale, I'm gonna set it to 50%. Now, when I slide my thumb, it will move much more on the horizontal axis than on the vertical axis, which is pretty good. Now, can I do a 180? Yeah, I can. That's pretty good. At this point, trackpads are already feeling just like I want them to, but I always found that the face buttons are a bit too far away from the trackpads. For me, that's where the fun begins, because I want to find a button layout to better accommodate the trackpads. At first, I had an idea of binding the most used buttons to the bumpers and the trackpad click, like jumping, dashing, and melee. The Steam controller has 4 back buttons, so my plan was to bind the less used actions to them, like interacting, ADSing, using consumables, and all that kind of stuff. But I already got used to a different layout that is much less comfortable, but now it's just really difficult for me to change it. I keep forgetting how to jump. So here's the layout that I already got used to. I will jump with L4, I will dash with R4, I will melee with the trackpad click, I will interact with R1, and I will alt-fire with L1. The 2 bottom back buttons will just be used to change consumables and use consumables, so I don't need to use the D-pad, neither the face buttons. You will notice that I'm changing some of the buttons inside the game and on Steam at the same time. I'm doing that because I don't want to sacrifice the default controller layout on Steam. So I want the right bumper to be the right bumper. I just want to change the action of the right bumper. And when that's the case, I can do that inside of the game, thankfully. So here I set the right bumper to be the interaction button. So I have all the actions that I want without lifting my thumb from the trackpads, which is extremely important for my next tip. If you really want to bring your trackpad game to the next level, you want to combine the trackpad with gyro aiming. Gyro will give you a much bigger range to switch and track targets. So you will use the trackpads to look around and gyro to do the actual tracking and target switching, making your aim just as precise as a mouse, be it for aiming or for just controlling a cursor. So here's what I do. I will use gyro to mouse and properly calibrate it. I won't go over all of the little settings here, so if you want to learn how to calibrate the gyro to mouse mode, I already made a bunch of videos about that. I will choose the gyro activation button to be the right trackpad touch. So gyro will be disabled when I'm not touching the trackpad, and the second that I touch it, it's enabled. Just like the trackpads, I will set my preferred sensitivity. I will decrease the vertical sensitivity to decrease shakiness. I will set the gyro precision speed to 4 to also decrease shakiness. I also like to experiment with the momentum feature, which is basically the trackball mode but for gyro. And I will change the 3DOF to 2D conversion style to player space. Again, if you want an explanation of what these settings means, I already have a video about that. Now check this out. When using a mouse, you can easily reposition the mouse just by lifting it and repositioning, right? But with gyro aiming, you kind of need a command for that. But with gyro combined with the trackpads, you just lift your thumb. Your thumb is the mouse. And that's super cool because now you can use a technique called gyro ratcheting. So you will move the controller until you can't move it any further, then you're going to disable gyro, reposition the controller, and enable gyro again. I'm doing bigger movements just to showcase what I mean, but in reality, when actually playing, you're gonna do that all the time, little by little, and you won't even notice. It's super intuitive. And this is very exciting because this also fixes a different problem with gyro aiming. Menu navigation is a bit difficult because there's a mouse cursor selecting different things than what you're trying to do, but now gyro isn't even enabled because I'm not touching the right trackpad. So I can navigate menus with ease, with no problem whatsoever, with both analog sticks working as intended. I can use all of the buttons and it just works perfectly, which in the end makes this method one of the most beginner-friendly methods of learning both trackpads and gyro at the same time, which is just absolutely fantastic. Now, I have a surprise gift for you. This is my gyro and FlickStick layout collection. Every week, my Patreons vote for a game for me to create a gyro and FlickStick configuration for. Thanks to them, I can buy new games and make configurations for them at the week of their release. All of these configs are free, and they work with pretty much any controller. But lately, since the release of the Steam controller, I've also been adding trackpad support to them. So if you don't want to configure a game, or you just want to set up the buttons that you like, you can do so by using my layout collection. Here are the games that I configured lately: Risk of Rain 2, Subnautica 2, Forza Horizon 6, 007 First Light, Super Hot, and Portal 2. If you're interested in any of those games, please check the first link in the description. And if you want to learn more, click on this video. Shout out to my Patreons: Shane Kellen, Carton Ivy, Roger Dogood, Orlando, Christopher Fox, Thena Oath, Easy, Ars Poetic, and Oryx Gazella. Thank you so much for watching.